that there's this insatiable urge for life to feed on life, but the spiritual process, or he's saying, at least for the, for these yogis, is if you learn how to take that and turn it in and eat your own capitalist tendencies, your own ignorance, your own consumerist tendencies, then you become a face of glory. He actually called this face Kirtamukha, which is the face of victory, right? One who has done this becomes victorious. I think that this identifying with capitalism is very much a spiritual process. The way I, at least in my own life, how I come to understand it, that capitalism largely lives in us, and there's a consumer within each of us, this sort of voracious appetite to somehow gain more, that it maybe is not the highest part of our nature, but stimulated enough, given enough rationale, we will continue to live from that place. And when I say we, I'm just saying, looking at the world around us, that it makes me think of this story. It's an old yogic story where there's a being that's become extremely powerful from, there's always been this battle between the dark forces and the light forces, between the devas and the asuras. So this is one of those dark forces. And this being becomes so powerful that the forces of light need to seek some kind of support. And so they go to the great yogi, Lord Shiva. And they go to Shiva and they say, Shiva, please, you must help us with this being. He's destroying and consuming everything. What do we do? So Shiva says, well, tell him to come to me. So they go to him and he says, what? I would never go before Shiva. In fact, you know what? If he wants to see me, first he should send over his wife, Parvati, to be mine. And then he can come and address me in my presence. And nobody ever speaks to Shiva this way. So when he gets this message, boom, he summons him with his inner power right before him. And this demon sees Lord Shiva. And then Shiva, in great anger, sends a lightning bolt out of his third eye, and it hits the earth. And from the place that it hits the earth, this immense being towers out. And I mean, its arms are like huge Himalayan mountain peaks, its biceps, and it's got flowing like, rivers, and it's huge fangs that have this huge cavernous mouth that has poison coming out of it. And his eyes are like volcanoes, and his hair is extending in all four directions wildly, right? Like multiple forests. And so when this demon, Jalandhara, sees the creation of Lord Shiva, he falls at Shiva's feet because he knows that he has no hope. So he says, Shiva, please grant me mercy. Now, Shiva, being a god, being the great liberator, has a certain ethic, a certain etiquette. So if someone comes and asks for mercy, even though he's terrible, Shiva said, okay, fine, you can go on your way. Just don't bother me again and never say a word about my wife. So he kind of scampers off with his tail between his legs. But now there's this huge, ferocious demon that Shiva has created to scare him. And so the demon looks at Shiva and says, you're my master, but I need to consume. If I don't start consuming now, I'm going to eat the entire cosmos. This fire burning in me is endless and insatiable. So Shiva says, well, if you must consume, then start with yourself. And so the demon starts to eat his own feet, and then he starts to eat his own legs, and he starts to eat his own torso, until all that's left of him is this face, this gory face. But Shiva says to all those around him, this, you understand, is the most beautiful face to me. And if you understand the meaning of this sacrifice and this face, then you will be able to understand me and enter the mansion of my presence, right? That there's this insatiable urge for life to feed on life, but the spiritual process, or he's saying, at least for the, for these yogis, is if you learn how to take that and turn it in and eat your own capitalist tendencies, your own ignorance, your own consumerist tendencies, then you become a face of glory. He actually called this face Kirtamukha, which is the face of victory, right? One who has done this becomes victorious. And it seems like, as you said, how do we graciously in this time inviting through ceremony, or to face ourselves, which is what he said to this demon, like, face yourself, right? And then your face became beautiful because you ate the parts of yourself that could only consume in the process. This is great work. I mean, and you as a poet challenge and offer ways for, I think, for individuals to look at the uncomfortable truths, but see the beauty in doing it. That there's a possibility, right? There's a composting there. When we sat with Michael Mead, he says the challenge of this time is everybody's looking to the journalists and the doctors for truth. He says that's not where they're going to find truth. They'll find facts, right? But we want to find truth. We got to turn to the poets and to the storytellers to reconnect that somatic sense of like, that feels, how do I connect to this feeling again? That's what I'm hearing as you've been sharing, or what's been happening inside of me as I'm listening.